The next series I'd like to do an LP of is one of my favorite adventure game series, Leisure Suit Larry. Now, Larry has a very unfair reputation these days. I blame a lot of that on the last two games that came out. I also blame some of it on people remembering their childhood through rose-tinted glasses. It's not near as dirty, as risque, as filthy as people seem to think it was. Those last two games that came out were not Larry games. And after we go through the series, I'll do a video just for the two of them real quick. I'm not going to play through both of them, but I'll show you some of it. So you can see what I mean, especially compared to the rest of the series. I played Leisure Suit Larry games for the same reason almost all of the really dedicated fans did. The humor. It is a funny series. True, it's adult situational comedy, but you will not find four-letter words in Leisure Suit Larry. Al Lowe, the creator, always thought it was more fun to dance around swear words than come out and say them. Once you've come out and said them, the humor isn't there anymore. Yes, the point of the series is Larry tries to get laid. But the comedy is the myriad ways in which he spectacularly fails. He's a loser. He is the ultimate loser. And of course, there's the objections that Larry objectifies women. Well, yes, the character does, which is part of what makes him a loser, you see. Anyway, I could defend the series all day, but when it comes right down to it, they're fun to play. They're funny. That's what they're meant to do. Mission accomplished. You'll also see there's not near as much nudity in these games as you think there is. And if you are so desperate for nudity that you're playing Leisure Suit Larry just hoping to catch a pixelated nipple, let me introduce you to a small thing I like to call the internet. So, we're going to start, obviously, with the first game. Now, there are 3 versions of the first game now, and I'm going to be playing the most recent remake, which came out last year. And really, from an LP standpoint, I'd like to play the original one, but there's several reasons for picking the new one. There's extra content. In particular, there's a whole extra woman with all new puzzles and quests. It's fully voice acted, which means you don't have to listen to me doing it. The music's amazing, the visuals are great. The one downside is, because it is newer, I'm going to have to go back to the whole putting the camera at the screen thing, which I hate the look of, and the sound quality's not as great that way, but with the technology I currently can afford, it's all I can do. After that, we'll go to the video capture. So after this first game, the audio and video quality for the LP should go up, but I still want to do this remake. And another reason is because I actually helped make it. In a small way, I contributed. My name's in the credits. My name's in the game. So I'm a little proud and I wanted to show it off. I just love the idea that I could go back in time and tell my middle school self, who's playing Leisure Suit Larry 3, that one day your name's going to be in one of those games. Of course, my first reaction would be, wait, what am I going to be doing in that game? But then after I told me it was cool, I'd be really excited about it, which means I also got to meet and talk to Al Lowe, which is awesome. The man who created the series, man who spent a lifetime just being professionally funny. And I was able to make him laugh and even offend him with a joke of my own, which I'm not sharing because I think every time I tell that joke, a little piece of me dies. So, the first Leisure Suit Larry is actually a remake of a much older game, a text-only game from before video games had graphics, called Soft Porn. I can't really tell you much more beyond that. It's the same plot, but then Al came in and introduced comedy and style. Also, Josh Mandel, who did almost all of Space Quest 6, and also was the voice of King Graham, did a lot, if not, he did most of the writing for this remake. And as you'll see, he did a great job. I'm also going to have a guest commentator work with me, at least on the first game. We're going to see how it goes before I include her in the whole series. But my friend the Princess is going to be sitting alongside me while I do the LP. And I wanted to do this for a couple of reasons. One, because Larry is so frequently accused of sexism from people who never played it. I wanted to bring in a female voice. Two, she has never played this. In fact, she's never really played adventure games. So I think her perspective and her take on it could be very interesting. Now, if it works out, if we like having her around, she could be around for the whole series. We'll see. But I'm at least going to try her out for the first game. The reason she's not sitting right next to me at the moment is because she doesn't know anything about the series. So she would have nothing to contribute at this point. I love this series. I want to just sit here and talk about each and every game, but I'll get that opportunity as we build up to it. So, the original came out. The original Leisure Suit Larry, it is predicted there were 2 or 3 pirated copies for every legitimate copy sold. And some of those versions had a really bad virus on them, which becomes a plot point in Space Quest 4, believe it or not. So, Larry got everywhere. I'm tempted to show you footage of the original game, just so you can see the little 8-bit graphics and everything, but you can look that up. The original game was obviously seriously old school. They then did a VGA remake. Remember VGA? Back when we cared, CGA, EGA. We actually rated our graphical qualities that way. There was a VGA remake with a point-and-click interface, because Sierra did that with a lot of their games. At one point, Sierra tried updating all of the first of their adventure series with a VGA remake, and I guess the sales weren't good enough for them to continue with that, because at no point does number 2 in any series get the VGA remake. Anyway, I think that's enough. I'll say a little bit more just in terms of intro, because there's not really an opening cinematic to the series. The idea of Larry is the original 40-year-old virgin. He's a door-to-door computer salesman who has never known the touch of a woman. And one day, he's finally had enough. He finds this book, How to Meet Chicks, and he memorizes it. And he puts on his leisure suit, which went out of fashion 20 years before, as did the book he was reading. And he decides to go to the magical city of Lost Wages, a city known for its gambling and cabaret shows. And his only goal is to get laid. That is the point of the first game. He just wants to lose his virginity. So we're going to help him with that. The original game actually came with a timer. And not many people know this because it was almost impossible to fail. But if you didn't get laid, which is one of the first things you can do in Larry, if you didn't get laid in the original game, within a certain amount of playtime, and it was a really long amount of playtime, that's why almost nobody knows this exists, Larry actually committed suicide. There was a cutscene where he held a gun to his head as the sun came up, and you got that happy music, morning sunshine music, and he blew his brains out. They took out the time limit in later versions, and like I said, almost nobody knows that exists, so it's a fun thing. Anyway, I think I've done enough, so it's time for us to visit Lost Wages with Larry Laffer. I look forward to seeing you guys there.